the Vanishing Hiker. At 9:15 a.m. on March 15, 2019, a 24-year-old photography student named Emma Rodriguez was hiking alone through Cascade Falls Trail in Oregon. She was working on her senior thesis project about solitude in nature, and she needed to capture the perfect sunrise shots from the summit overlook. Emma was an experienced hiker who knew these trails like the back of her hand, having grown up in the area. The trail she was on was a moderate 6-mile loop that typically took about 4 hours to complete. Emma had started early to catch the golden hour lighting, and she was making excellent time. She had her camera equipment, plenty of water, and had told her roommate she'd be back by 2 p.m. for their planned study session. At the same time Emma was hiking up the trail, a park ranger named Michael Chen was conducting his routine morning patrol in his truck along the access road that ran parallel to parts of the hiking trail. From his elevated position on the road, he could see sections of the trail below through breaks in the trees. As Ranger Chen drove along, he spotted a hiker in a bright red jacket, which was exactly what Emma was wearing that day. He made a mental note of her location and continued his patrol. Everything seemed completely normal. The hiker was moving at a steady pace, appeared well equipped, and was following the marked trail perfectly. But then, roughly 20 minutes later, as Ranger Chen was driving back along the same route, he looked down at that section of trail where he had just seen the hiker in the red jacket, and she was gone, which wasn't necessarily unusual. Hikers move, they take different paths, they duck behind trees. But what caught his attention was that her bright red jacket was still there, just sitting on a boulder beside the trail, neatly folded. Ranger Chen immediately pulled over and hiked down to investigate. When he reached the red jacket, he found not just the jacket, but Emma's entire outfit. Her hiking boots lined up perfectly side by side, her backpack with all her camera equipment still inside, her water bottles, even her car keys. Everything was arranged with almost ceremonial precision on and around this boulder. But Emma herself was nowhere to be found. Ranger Chen called for backup immediately, and a massive search operation was launched. For the next 2 weeks, search and rescue teams, bloodhounds, helicopters, and hundreds of volunteers combed every inch of the surrounding wilderness. They found absolutely no trace of Emma beyond her belongings on that boulder. The case baffled investigators. There were no signs of struggle, no footprints leading away from the scene, no evidence of wildlife involvement. Emma's phone was still in her backpack with full battery, showing her last location as exactly where her belongings were found. Security cameras at the trailhead confirmed she had entered alone, and no one else had accessed the trail that morning. 3 weeks after Emma's disappearance, her case was about to be classified as a cold case when investigators received an unexpected phone call. It was from Emma herself. She was calling from a hospital in Vancouver, Canada, over 300 miles away. She was confused, disoriented, and had no memory of how she had gotten there. Emma told investigators that the last thing she remembered was stopping to photograph the sunrise from that boulder, feeling dizzy, and then waking up 3 weeks later in a Canadian hospital with no identification and no memory of the intervening time. Medical tests showed she had been severely dehydrated and malnourished, but otherwise unharmed. The mystery of what happened to Emma Rodriguez during those 3 weeks, how she traveled 300 miles, and why she arranged her belongings so carefully before disappearing remains unsolved to this day.